In this chapter, we get a lot of organic emotions being displayed by this girl whom I believe to be the Death Devil. I could be wrong, but based on how the first speech bubble is more wavy than the second one, as she spoke, as her thoughts came out, she gained some semblance of confidence, and that indicates a belief in her own words for this girl. She genuinely believes what she is saying, that she is here to save them, that she is their savior. There is a repeat of words in the third panel. The font is bigger, the font is bolder, the speech bubble is more so flashy rather than wavy form. All of this further supporting the idea of her belief in her own words. Honestly, she genuinely believes herself to be their savior and declares it as such. And this is pretty consistent in the world of Chainsaw Man. Like, if you think about it, we have got people who make contract with devils. We have got devils who are angels. We have got churches that worship devils. Pretty much everything that could be warped has been warped in the world of Chainsaw Man. So why not death believing itself to be the savior? Nobody looks at it like that, but that is pretty consistent in this world. And that alone makes it one of the best openings to a Chainsaw Man chapter in my opinion. But the reason why it is one of the best openings for me is that nobody actually paid any attention to her. Like, she declared it, she gathered her courage, she overcame her own insecurities, her anxiety, she declared herself their savior, and nobody had any reaction to that. Nobody paid attention to her. Everybody just went about their business. It's natural that it made her cry. Now, Fujimoto didn't have to draw his characters in a dark shade, but he did draw them in a darker shade, while he showed death in a more lighter shade. Like, she was in the light while everybody else was shown with shown as like they are in the shadows or whatever. It is something that he has actually consistently done to essentially showcase boundaries, to showcase alliances, etc. Stuff like that. And this time is sort of no different. For Death, in her mind, she is their savior, but her words are not reaching anyone. She cannot reach anyone, and by showcasing her in light and everybody else in dark, it helps to portray her isolation better. At the same time, why showcase her in light? Well, she was talking about how she was gonna save everyone. I would say that her words about her superior talent are the first foreshadowing we get, apart from her concentric eyes. She talks about saving everyone and her talents as if everyone is below her. In her opinion, only she could save them. Only she can do this one thing. Everyone can do something and she has to do it. That's a waste of her own talents. Her talents which are far superior to everyone. Something that only she can accomplish. So she should be treated more like a messiah, like a hero, like a savior. At this point, when she talks about her talents, well, her superior talents, that speech bubble in particular is the least shaky out of pretty much all the shaky or wavy speech bubbles that we get. That one is least shaky out of all of her speech bubbles so far. We are still looking at her from the same angle, and until now she had been drawn in light. But for once Fujimoto draws her darkness on her, shadows on her, as she tells the other kid to take out the trash, especially when there is the emphasis on the U word. Even in the bold, large fonts, that word is particularly extra bold. Like, it has been extra highlighted to further reinforce the idea of her superiority complex is entangled with her own anxiety. Speech bubbles normally tell what is written in them and whatever people can read between the lines. However, sudden lack of speech bubbles, sudden lack of any dialogue, sudden lack of any thoughts after tense interaction, now that helps brew the tension, that helps the reader feel the tension and discomfort that the characters are feeling. This next page has a lot of text fitted with pretty small panels, to be honest, and that flows well into the page after that as she reveals her idea of suffering and understanding and her solution to relieve people of it. She goes in for the kill and suddenly she's back to being in shadow, to being in darkness rather than being showered in light. Now the next three panels, it doesn't really matter what order you look at them in, but they give the same conclusion, and that is further supported by the idea of the sound text overflowing from one panel into another, essentially flowing across the panels to showcase that the sound is present in all three panels. So all of that is happening simultaneously. Doesn't matter what order you look at them in. The font choice for the other Chainsaw Man is weird, but compared to normal, it has been used in a way that in my opinion, isn't effectively just conveys to the reader that his way of speaking is different from others. He's not as normal sounding as other people are. What is interesting to me here is that this fake Chainsaw Man guy knew death was gonna be there, whoever this girl is. Well, it's not like anyone had actually asked for help there. He was just blabbering. Nobody knew she was gonna be there. At least to our knowledge, no such prophecy had been made. Death Devil's most consistent speech bubble comes as she talks about saving him, meaning she talks about taking him out. She's convinced of her own words, and so we finally get a normal speech bubble coming out of her. And this fake man talks about justice and shit, and that reminds me of the church and the fire devil nonsense. Looking at its design, it's a disfigured chainsaw man, one that has tried to become Chainsaw Man but failed to become Chainsaw Man. Strong sense of justice, a desire for power to be like Chainsaw Man, I believe. Well, there's the meat cape and all, but the saws are coming out of his shoulders. He has a head cap of sorts. I do not believe it's the Fire Devil. I believe it's the club president we saw Fami manipulate. I do not believe it will be the Control Devil. It has been way too fast for reincarnation. Plus, Control's character arc feels complete. What I do believe is that the reason why this guy is a disfigured Chainsaw Man, the idea being represented is that he has failed to become Chainsaw Man. After all, he is closer to Black Chainsaw Man form, in the form idea of the all the meat cape and whatever. But at the same time, the Black Chainsaw Man would kill the ones who were being the abusers, and then would kill the ones who were asking for help as well. He was the hero of hell, not of earth. A pretty ironic name, being hero of hell or whatever. And in a way, by killing devils in hell, whichever devil he did not eat, or were also sent to earth, where they could spread chaos and spread more fear and become stronger, whatever, etc., all that stuff. But the point is that this guy does not fully understand Chainsaw Man, and I believe the reason his design is like that is to represent that idea that he's somebody who has tried and failed to become Chainsaw Man. Well, this is everything that I believe is conveyed through the art of this chapter, through the speech bubbles, through the fonts, through the usage of lights and shadows, stuff like that. If you stuck around till the end, thank you for listening to me.